Sam, sit one side, one end, whatever end you want. Put Jack there. Ooh. The back's got a boom, right? So whoever's going to ask questions, just give us a minute until it's over your head, all right? You want us to speak in here? Yeah. Are we going live? Are we live? Yeah. Let me just close it. Good evening, everyone. What a night. What a fight. El Gato, Jack Catterall does the business. Lovely, lovely. Sweet as a nut. What a great fight. I agree with Mr. Aram. I do think the scores were a little wide, but for me, only one winner in the fight. A tremendous fight. I think the first round was better than the whole of the last fight, and it just went backwards and forwards. Jack dominated the first 7 rounds. Josh came back into the fight. Jack closed the show. Great advert for boxing as a whole. And Sam Jones, the champ here, and Jamie Moore, available for you guys. Far away.
Don't all go at once.
We're getting the boom.
Matt Lenehan for Boxing Social. Jack, how much of a relief was it when them scorecards were getting read out after everything you've been through, 2 years of waiting, and just to hear your name get read out as the winner?
Yeah, it was a big relief. I turned to Eddie. We've been there before where I thought I won the first fight clearly, didn't get the decision. Although I thought I won tonight clearly, you never know. Some of the scorecards you see, so to get the decision, rightfully so, was a big relief for me.
Seb Parkinson, Title Sports Network. For Jamie and Jack, the game plan in that fight, Jack, you looked like you were using the shoulder to keep Josh off you. Jamie, how did that work? Josh looked like he was going on the inside, and Jack, how did you execute that game plan?
Why don't we go first?
Yeah.
You know what, like me and Jamie speak, but it's never game plan A, B, C. I think you've got to be able to adapt. We're prepared for every outcome. We didn't never Josh were going to come out of the blocks and give it his all for 4 rounds, or whether he was going to try and drag it to the later rounds. So I think you've got to be ready for anything. We train hard and we're prepared for every outcome. We've had lots of good sparring partners. We've had a long camp, so it was good preparation. And ultimately, I think you've just got to be able to adjust and overcome whatever's put in front of you.
Yeah, obviously, I keep talking about Jack as like a hybrid. He has to be adaptable and be able to do a little bit of everything. And you know, we anticipated Josh would come strong and try and put it on him. He created that gap in between, and the only thing I would say was he got a little bit too greedy too early and maybe gassed himself a little bit, and that's why it allowed Josh to come into the fight as the second half kicked in. But this is the first time Jack's ever been in a sort of dogfight type fight, because Josh was the first person who's been good enough to drag him into that scenario. So he'll learn so much from that, and I'm glad, because if Eddie's going to get him a world title shot, he's going to have to be prepared and experienced in doing that stuff, and that's the best sort of training he can do for it.
Mark?
Hi Jack, it's Mark Walker, PA Media. Do you now look for a world title shot, ideally, or do you complete the trilogy?
You know what, a world title's always been the dream. We didn't get the Undisputed, didn't get the world titles, and that's fine. That chapter's been written now, but I'm in a great position. Eddie's got a massive stable at 140, and I want that world title fight.
John Evans, Boxing Scene. Jack, we spoke in the week about your quiet, calm demeanour leading up to fights, and you not wanting to get drawn into a firefight. There were times there when that looked like it was ready to take off. How important was that mindset there to just keep calm?
You know what, you have to stay disciplined, but I knew I had to go. I couldn't fall too complacent. I knew the threats that Josh brung, but I also knew I had to push and squeeze it out of him. And I couldn't just coast for this victory, I had to really go for it. So a mix of keeping the emotions intact, being disciplined, but also taking them opportunities when you see them.
James from ESPN, congratulations, Jack. But Eddie, one for you. He mentioned you're stable at 140, and it is remarkable. Where does he sit now in terms of those elite level fighters.
Yeah, I mean, look, after a fight like that kind of profile, sold out crowd, live around the world on DAZN in the UK, ESPN in America, right up there. You know, I think, of course, people talk about the trilogy, and for me, I'll always look at the biggest fights out there, but it's about now also the career of Jack Catterall, and he should have been undisputed world champion. So we need to try and position him now for a world championship fight. When you have a performance like that, when you have a night like that, positioning someone is a lot easier to do because people want to see it. And we have Subriel Matias fighting Liam Parra in a couple of weeks. We've got Devin Haney going to fight Sandor Martin. Teofimo Lopez is fighting Steve Claggett, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Steve Claggett, but it's a fucking disgrace. It's a joke, absolute joke fight. It's on ESPN. I mean, it's like you talk about the Teofimo Lopez coming off a good win against Josh Taylor, says he's the best 140-pounder in the world. That's a joke fight. You know, this is the guy who should be fighting Teofimo Lopez, and we believe he'll beat him all day long. So we believe he should be world champion. That's a thing of the past, but that's the next step, the natural step to fight for a world championship.
Yes, Jonathan Ringwalt Media. Jamie, Jack used a triple jab very, very effectively, and his distance management was spot on. Is that something you specifically worked on for this fight?
I ain't going to take the credit for it, I'll be honest with you, because Jack Catterall is a phenomenal fighter and he's a dream to train. The reason he's a dream to train is that he's the type of fighter who you're blessed to work with in the context of can you turn your phone on silent, please?
Westbrook King when you need him.
It's just rude, mate. He's obsessed with boxing. He educated himself, and you know my job is to use the fighter's skill set. Not so I can coach people and improve him. I've not had to do that with Jack. All I've had to do is take his skill set on board and say, listen, in these moments, this is what you should do. So it's like I'm sort of guiding him through it rather than telling him what to do. He's a phenomenal fighter on his own back, I promise you. I'm not going to take the credit for it.
Regan Slaymaker, International Boxing News. Jamie as well. You've just touched on it there, but kind of yourself and Nigel, you've praised Jack. You've given him so much credit throughout the years. I mean, how proud of you of his performance tonight? Unbelievably proud, and it's just over 2 years too late in terms of he should have been crowned undisputed champion. And you know, people talk about you know, tell him to stop fucking crying, blah blah blah. No, that's the absolute pinnacle of the sport, and it got snatched away. Right, so we can't go back there and sort of recreate it. But to say that I'm relieved tonight is an understatement, because you know, and I understand there might be a small percentage of people who go, let's see the trilogy, it was a great fight, but God, Jack's sick of thinking about Josh Taylor. I'm sure Josh Taylor's sick of thinking about Jack. I'm certainly sick of watching Josh Taylor. I don't want to do it for another 18 months or whatever. So please, Eddie, don't make us do it again.
I can only look at the numbers. What can I say? No, that's not, you know, as I said.
He said straight away as soon as it finishes, like, trilogy.
No, look, it's a massive fight, but also with that tonight was a massive fight, and you won that. And fighting for a world title was a massive fight. So one thing we know is a massive fight will be next. And I would listen, if I have a choice, it's for a world title. Lopez.
Shit. Sorry.
Dom Farrell, Sporting News. Jack, you just said Lopez is the one out of those champions you want. Why is that? What appeals to you about that fight?
Yeah, I was mandatory for the WBO title for what felt like a lifetime. He beat Taylor before I did. We've both had the win over him. I want to prove that I'm better than him. I believe.
He didn't beat you before that. You beat him before that.
On paper, but listen, I believe I've got the style to beat Lopez, and that's the fight I want.
Rob Tubbett from Boxing News. Jack, congratulations on your win. It seems as though you hurt Josh frequently throughout the fight. You buzzed him, I think, as early as the first round, and then specifically later on in the fight. Did you feel that you were going to get the stoppage? Were you surprised that you weren't able to break him down? I know he's a tough man, but still you were hurting him regularly.
Yeah, credit to Josh, very tough. I knew I had him hurt a few times. I did press on to try and squeeze it out of him, but listen, he ran through the division, he became undisputed, and you know that he's a top competitor. I didn't get the stoppage victory, but I knew I carried enough power to gain his respect and hurt him, and I I beat him up, and that's what I said I was going to do.
Jack, Jonathan Aggie of Pro Boxing Fans. What did you say to Josh in the ring after the fight?
You know what? There's been a lot of back and forth over the last 2 years, personal messages, etc. And I believe we squashed that tonight. It's been a long time coming, and it's done. That chapter's writ for me now.
Regan Slaymaker, International Boxing News. Eddie, with Matthias fighting Paro in 2 weeks and obviously signed to the same promotional stable, is that the likely world title shot if it is that for Jack next?
No, I mean, you know, who knows what's going to happen later on in the year in Riyadh as well. You know, we talk about a potential USA versus UK card as well that His Excellency's looked at. Teofimo against Jack Catterall, great fight out there. Haney against Catterall, Matthias against Catterall. I mean, you know, I know that he watches every show, and he would have watched that card tonight, and he would have been very impressed, not just with Jack's performance, but the atmosphere as well. I mean, is it one of the best atmospheres I've seen, you know, and I think I was a little bit reluctant to come to this arena because it's just the Josh Warrington fortress, but actually you realise it's also a city that knows its boxing. And there was a lot of people from Chorley. There was a few people from Edinburgh in there as well, you know, and I just think that when you get the two sets of fans, it's just unbelievable. The ring walks, you know, the hairs stand up on your neck, and that's what it's all about. And it was a complete night, you know, not just the atmosphere, but a great fight and a great performance. And that's really, honestly, what matters. Because to take these guys forward, if it's not a great fight, look at Nige. You all right, Nige?
He's on the piss. He's on the piss.
It's important. You know, it's really important to look good and to entertain the crowd, and that's what Jack did tonight.
John from Boxing Scene again.
Is the doctor here? Can the doctor see Nigel, please?
Jack, we've seen you at Bowlers, at Bolton's White Hotel over the years. You know, you've come started from the bottom. What did it feel like when you walked out and you saw that you'd filled this arena now? What was the sense of feeling there? And Sam, what did you see in Jack all that time ago to think that he could become this fighter that could do arenas?
You need dance partners in boxing. There's very, very few superstars in boxing. And I've said this all along. Without dance partners, there isn't big fights. And Jack needed that this night, which is the reason why I was on Eddie's ass to make the fight. Because I knew it would fill an arena. I knew it would sell. As soon as they came together, like what he says, on site. That's what you want to see in boxing. Healthy rivalries. And that was one of the best atmospheres I've personally ever seen. Thought the ring walks were amazing. Thought the fight was amazing. Josh is a fantastic fighter. But let me tell you, he's a fucking fantastic fighter as well. Sorry for swearing.
Jack, just going off what Eddie said, world title shot in Saudi Arabia. Sound like a good plan?
Yeah, listen, we've said we want a world title fight. Eddie's got the stable of world champions, and I'm sure Sam and Eddie will come to something, and I'll be back in the gym in a couple of weeks, and I'll be ready to go.
Wedding first.
My wedding.
Yeah.
Wedding first.
All right, guys, just want to say thank you for all your help and support this week. What a great night. Off to Riyadh we go. Jack Catterall, congratulations.